Savannah. I sat through a class back when I was excited about it. And one of them was consent agenda. And they're like, hey, for run-of-the-mill things, put them here. And then council will review it on Tuesday. And we'll have from reading Tuesday and Thursday to let everybody know, hey, I want to pull that up. I want to talk about it. Doesn't mean that you're not going to approve it. You just want to talk about it. Like, hey, this is one I think we need to pull out. But everything else, you could get to that line item and you could just approve 8 things on it. And well, who was adamant opposed to it? Lewis. Lewis says, well, our agendas are small. Not making fun of how he talked. I'm just saying he was an older, more step. He was like, our agendas are already small and we owe it to this community to hear everything out of this. Of which, I was only like 27, 28 years old. I was like, that's what all old people say. And then as it's gone, like a couple of visionings and whatnot, strategic planning meetings, I've brought it up. So when I do bring it up, Matt's like, again, really? Yep.
Looking back at
yeah, hey, look. Do you know when I first came on council, every liquor license was approved right here. Everybody had to come on the council and, hey, I've got a grocery store, or I got a gas station, or whatever, I need this. They had to come in front of us. Like, you would spend half of your council meetings approving people's liquor licenses. So, Sam, HBC, used to come to council. So, masks. It's back to your, well, we've already condensed this thing down.
And it has that one.
It's not your fault. Did you not believe like in the last year our agendas have gotten larger and larger? We used to have like 6 items, 8 items. Dude, I don't know what, and it could be but I've just noticed, I've been here a long time, I'm like, this thing, and the meetings still move pretty quick. Right? And it's not like we're here for hours. Tonight, we might be. And then we got the hours in the show. So the builder. And I got phone calls on this. Well, it doesn't have to have a public hearing. So therefore it has to have 2 readings still?
It's a texting evidence.
This I get that, but I'm just shocked that we don't have to have a public hearing. Something obviously we want to, and there's probably going to be a lot of good evidence.
Everything's got to be good. Yes, sir, boss.
So, this text amazing. Yes. Man, the whole gag is full for you.
I mean, he runs.
Yes, for about what? But no. So this is flux, which
Good for him.
Just read. You got 2 readings.
That's what confused me. Yeah, that's not.
No, it's just like a regular ordinance.
Got about 8 seconds to get where you got to get.
People who are opposed to it, and somebody is framing it before y'all decide. So that's-
Good evening. I'll call this meeting of the Cartersville City Council to order. If you'll please stand for our invocation and pledge.
Good evening. Bow with me as we pray. Our dear gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for your blessings to us. Thank you for the opportunity to live in Cartersville and do the business of the city of Cartersville tonight. Thank you for those who have gathered here tonight and taken the time of their busy schedules to be engaged in this process. And we thank you for the rain that we've had this week, and we ask for more. And we thank you for that. Go with us now and be with those who aren't with us tonight. We ask that you would bring them back to us safely, and we'll do everything to glorify your name. And it's in your holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Drake, the roll, please.
Carrie Hodge, Ward 1. Jay Stepp, Ward 2.
Here.
Carrie Rolfe, Ward 3.
Here.
Calvin Cooley, Ward 4. Gary Fox, Ward 5. Alyssa Cordell, Ward 6.
Here.
Thank you, Julia. I will note that all 3 council members let us know well in advance that they had plans out of town. We try not to have that happen, but life does happen. But we will celebrate those who are here. We'll do the business of the city of Cartersville tonight. The first order of the agenda is to approve the council meeting minutes from our July 2nd meeting. And council, you've had these in advance of tonight, had an opportunity to look them over. Now would be the opportunity to make any corrections to those. If there are none, a motion's in order.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
And I will vote as well, and the minutes are approved unanimously. Mr. Menino, if you will get us started off, please, with Z2405.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. First, these cases, the first 2 cases have been properly posted and advertised, and there appears to be no conflicts of interest with that. Z2405 is a proposed rezoning from office commercial to general commercial for property located at 681 and 683 Henderson Drive. Started out several months ago. Code enforcement was having to investigate some outside storage of several properties in that particular area. This particular property was developed, I guess, around the mid-90s. It was an office warehouse. It's been a contractor's office for several years, and over the years they've started storing some stuff behind the building. They've actually created some tenant spaces in the building and had other contractors working out of the back. And with that, the outside storage was noted, and the general commercial zoning category does allow outside storage to the rear of buildings in the property, but office commercial does not. So the applicant is looking to rezone it from office commercial to general commercial. Second part to this, which will come before you the following month, though outside storage is allowed, Connex boxes or the storage containers are not allowed in the commercial zoning categories for the outside storage. The applicant will be proposing a text amendment that would allow those boxes as part of their outside storage if it's properly screened, and goes through the special use permit application where each case would have to be individually evaluated. With that, the Planning Commission did hear this request and did recommend approval of the rezoning from office commercial to general commercial, with conditions restricting it to the type of use that they already have and are proposing. The applicant is present for this request, or the applicant's representative is present for this request.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions for Randy at this time? If there are none, I'll open up a public hearing for Z24-05 and ask the applicant if they'd like to, or the applicant's representative if they'd like to step forward and make a comment. Now would be the time to do so. And if you would, please, sir, and anybody that comes before council, to give your name and your address for our clerk.
Good evening. Mark Harris, H&H Realty, 700 Douthit Ferry Road. I'm here to represent Lehman Smith, the owner of the property, and if you have any questions, I'll do my best to give you the right answer.
I've got a question. Mr. Menino mentioned in his narrative the desire to come back with us with a text change amendment for special use.
That's correct.
If, let's, again, not saying how that's going to go or not go, but let's just throw out to the world that maybe that doesn't happen. Does that change what you would, the zoning that you're requesting here?
Not at all.
Okay, that's all I wanted to make sure of.
Good question.
Thank you. Do that for a living. Anybody else got questions or comments? Thank you, Mark. And again, we'll continue the public hearing for Z24-05. Anybody wishing to step forward and speak for or against may do so at this time. And seeing none, I will close the public hearing for Z24-05. We will have another public hearing before council consideration at our next meeting on August the 1st. Mr. Menino, if you will move us along to Z24-06.
Thank you again, Mayor and Council. This is a proposed rezoning from office commercial to general commercial, the exact same request we just heard, OC to GC. This is for the property located at 165 Cassville Road at the intersection with Irwin Street. The property has a Citgo convenience store on it already with an empty tenant space. I believe the previous tenant in there was a laundromat. The applicant is desiring to rezone it to the general commercial zoning category because it allows additional uses. I believe a liquor store or a package store had been mentioned. The package stores are not allowed in the office commercial zoning category. The property does have general commercial property to the east of it and public institutional with the cemetery across the street, and the rest of the surrounding properties are industrial. Staff did not oppose the application, and with that, Planning Commission did recommend approval of this application.
Should have asked this. Most of the gas stations in town are zoned.
OC and GC.
Okay,
And there's,
kind of a mix?
And there's some that are zoned MU.
Okay. All right. That's all I got for you right now. Actually, another question. You mentioned potential uses should this zoning go through. There are no applications on file with the city for those
No,
at this
there are
time,
not.
simply because the zoning is a requirement.
It's a land use change request
Okay.
from the office commercial to the general commercial
Perfect.
category.
Thank you. Anything for Mr. Menino at this time? Thank you, sir. And I'll open up a public hearing for Z24-06 and ask anybody wishing to speak for or against to do so at this time.
Hello, good evening.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, thank you, ma'am.
Good.
Good evening. My name is Ali Kashan. I'm the one who run this store. I'm not the owner. I'm just representing him. I live in 16 Sugar Mill Drive in Cartersville, and the property is 165. So, any questions if you might have?
I think we're good right now, unless anybody's got a question.
No question?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And we'll continue the public hearing for Z24-06. Anybody wishing to step forward, speak for or against may do so at this time. And again, seeing none step forward, I'll close the public hearing for Z24-06. And once again, we'll have another public hearing and opportunity to speak before it's turned over for council consideration at our meeting on August the 1st. Mr. Menino, if you will continue on with T24-03.
Thank you again. This particular application is a proposed text amendment to our sign ordinance. Our current sign ordinance does not allow billboards to be seen from I-75. This was a policy decision made more than 20 years ago. The zoning ordinance, or the sign ordinance, was reevaluated in 2012. In 2012, that same policy was added back to the ordinance for it to stay that way. The applicant has a billboard that's not intended to be seen from I-75, but because of the verbiage of that particular policy in the ordinance, they have a billboard that's intended to be viewed from 411, but with the overpass on I-575, you would be able to actually see the billboard.
Overpass at 411.
Yes, at the overpass at 411. Now, the orientation in direction of the billboard will be, so it is to be viewed from 411, and makes it a little bit difficult because of the language in our ordinance. The applicant chose to propose the text amendment, had some verbiage in there that the Planning Commission discussed, and Planning Commission's thoughts were to try to, they weren't concerned with this particular request because they knew where the location was. They tried to tighten up the verbiage to finally restrict it to an even smaller area. One of the Planning Commission members had to recuse himself, so they had a 2-to-1 vote to approve it with some revised language. They needed 3 votes for it to come as an approval recommendation. It was a 2-to-1 vote for approval. With that, there's no recommendation or a denial recommendation. Since that meeting, there was some concerns from a property owner in the city. Tilly Properties had some concerns about the verbiage of the proposed text amendment. The applicant has gotten with their representative. They looked at the verbiage that was originally presented. They looked at the verbiage that the Planning Commission was trying to do, and they did revise the actual text. Y'all should have received a copy of that prior to the meeting. With that, the new language has been provided to the opposition. I'm calling it opposition. They did say they had interest in it. They weren't necessarily opposed to the text amendment application, but Mr. Jenkins is representing Tilly Properties this evening, and he did receive a copy when he got here of the changed language. With that, the representative for this request is here. They do have a PowerPoint presentation they would like to make, and again, Mr. Jenkins has had a short time, but it has reviewed the proposed changes to the text amendment.
Thank you. Questions for Andy at this time?
Mayor, I just want to point out that this is not a staff proposed amendment. This is an amendment that is proposed by the applicant.
Thank you. And typically, first reading of ordinances, usually with ordinances, we reserve the right to have the people that are interested in it to speak, and tonight we're wanting to do that. So I'm going to open up a public hearing and ask anybody wishing to step forward. I guess if the applicant or its representative would like to come forward and make that presentation, now would be the time to do that, sir.
Yes, sir. Good evening. My name is Jack Howard. I currently reside at 118 5th Street North in Columbus, Mississippi, but I'm representing Flournoy Holdings. So tonight, the proposed text amendment is for the billboard sign ordinance slide, specifically section 20-29, which outlines the general billboard standards within the city limits. We're going to be focusing on section F, which is shall not be visible from or along I-75. Over the next few slides, I'm going to go over our billboard proposal that was denied and kind of why we're here tonight.
Well, just for clarification, it wasn't denied, it just wasn't recommended. There was really no decision.
No, sir. So we submitted a permit for the billboard.
Staff did not approve.
Oh, I got you. I understand.
Yes, sir.
Well, then you're right and I'm wrong. Let's continue on.
Okay, to kind of set the stage, so down the southwest corner, you can see the parcel that's owned by Flournoy Holdings. That red container is the proposed location for the billboard. Now to the north, you've got I-75. That's exit 293 for Chatsworth and White, and you can see 411 running north and south there. That was going to be the targeted traffic for that billboard. Now, I did mention we're going to focus on subsection F with billboards shall not be visible, which is why this billboard was denied. Oh, go back one slide. So you can see the trees to the south of I-75. Those preclude any type of vision of the actual parcel or the billboard itself, but you can see the overpasses where the city planners had concern. Slide. Okay, so this is a Google Maps street view. On the left-hand side, it's just the normal picture. On the right, it is that just zoomed or enhanced. You can see the dense vegetation right in the center of the right-hand picture. That is directly behind where the billboard was actually going to go. Now, the city planners did have some concerns that in the winter when the leaves actually fell off those trees, that you would be able to see through there and you would be able to see a billboard. So once they denied the permit request, at that time I asked for a variance, which brings me to my first point, which I was denied to even attempt to get a variance because you can't get a variance on something so vague such as visible. So at that point, Zach Arnold then emailed me over the text amendment package, which is how we got here. Slide. So On this slide, what I'm trying to do is take that original orientation from I-75 and draw a line basically to a visible object that we can easily identify on the next slide. That first slide, or the first picture, was taken I think in September, so prior to the leaves falling. This next slide is going to be in March, so hopefully all the leaves will, mostly all the vegetation will be gone. If you look on the right-hand picture, I used a pole from the northern side of, that's the stanchion for the gas station sign. And then I drug, and we'll use that to kind of tie our frame of reference. I then went back up to the orientation spot and drug on the right-hand side. You can see I went through where the proposed location for the billboard was, and then we should be able to see a gas station through those trees. Slide. Okay, so this is as zoomed in as you can get, and you can kind of tell there may be some type of structure back behind that dense vegetation. You can see that northern sign stanchion that is empty right now, but that is for that gas station. And this is what's getting into where they thought it was visible, right? There's no terminology or defining of what visible is, if it's the substructure, the structure itself, or the advertisement, was one of the issues. Slide. Now, how far away is this sign and how long are you gonna be able to see it? So it's at 1,300 feet, so just under a quarter mile. And then as far as the linear feet, you've got 140 traveling over that overpass. So when you equate that to about 70 to 75 miles an hour, you've got about a viewing time of 1.3 seconds. Mind you, that's also about 83 degrees off your left-hand shoulder. So when you couple all these things together at almost a quarter mile, 1.3 seconds of viewing time, 83 degrees off your left shoulder, and through dense vegetation, that's where I would argue that it's not necessarily visible, and we're still abiding by the original verbiage and the intent of not preserving the viewscape of the city. Slide. And that is how I got to working with Bobby Walker, the Tilley's attorneys, to get to this verbiage that you've already read for the proposed text amendment. Thank you for your time, and I'll take any questions.
It doesn't look like you spent a lot of time looking at this very thoroughly. Yeah, I think if I'm reading the tea leaves from what the concern was the unintended consequences of where else it might make this allowed. I think that was the initial. I think this proposed wording, while I'm not personally 100% on board with it, and I'd do a little bit tweaking, or I've got my own ideas about that. But again, we're just kind of looking at it. I think there's rules, and then there's what makes sense.
Yes, sir.
And certainly our staff in planning and development did exactly what they should do, because they've
Yes,
got
sir.
to enforce the policies that we have here. But certainly when there's an opportunity for common sense to kind of upgrade what we're doing that doesn't have any unintended consequences, I think that's what we're trying to do here. So I appreciate the work that you put into that, and kind of being willing to kind of adjust and see if we can get to where we need to go. So, any other questions or comments?
What's the height of your billboard?
Yes, sir. So with the other sign ordinance, it's 30 feet is the max height, with a max space of 300 feet.
And digital or static?
No, sir. It'll have to be static because there's 2 billboards that bracket us within the 5,000 feet for the digital.
Okay.
And what's your target audience for that billboard?
411. No one would even pay the money to try to see it from I-75 based off the viewing time and distance. All the billboards, if you go a couple slides, I have them hidden. When I first went into this, you'll see, at Highway 20 and I-75 where it's technically Bartow County. So there's 11 billboards within about 2 miles there. And you think those billboards are the same size you see around town. But all those billboards up and down the interstates are massive. They're all approximately 600 square feet, around 100 feet high, and about 100 feet off the road, with some of them going up to 1,000 square feet for the face. So proportionally, that's why no one would actually really be viewing it.
Sure. Okay.
I have a comment. So this is in my ward, and so I actually met with Mr. Flournoy this afternoon on site, and other than the verbiage, there is no other opposition for the billboard being erected.
Okay. Great. Any other questions or discussion? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And again, we'll continue the public hearing that was opened relative to T24-03. Anybody else wishing to step forward and speak for or against may do so at this time. And seeing none, I'll close that public hearing for T24-03. Again, we'll have a second reading of this ordinance, and we'll keep the option open to have a public hearing if there's anybody that cares to speak on that particular meeting, and then we'll take it up for final consideration at our meeting on August the 1st. And that'll move us on to Chief McCann. You got the next item, Peregrine Data Integration.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is a request to purchase Peregrine Technologies, which will integrate several different databases that we have at the police department, join them together so we can query information quickly and efficiently, and basically it'll end up saving us money. The cost of this technology is $240,000. $82,500 is due 30 days after we purchase it, and then in 2025 on August 1st, another $82,500 is due, and then in 2026 another $82,500 is due. It's a budgeted item. It's going to be paid for out of the general fund. I'm also requesting the council to authorize the contract that the city attorney reviewed and made the appropriate changes.
Very good. Any questions for Chief? If not, a motion's in order.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye as well. Motion carries
Thank you.
unanimously. Thank you. Mr. Dixon, you've got the next item.
You got 84 things to go through.
Thank you.
Before.
You can raise that up where you're comfortable, Mike. We don't want you to hurt your back.
Little low. Good evening, Mayor and Council. This development agreement between the city and Pulte Home Company LLC is for the Hamilton Place subdivision on Hamilton Crossing Road. The city agrees to provide the natural gas main infrastructure to serve the development at no cost to the developer, and the developer agrees to participate in the city's Gas Advantage program, requiring each home to have a minimum number of gas appliances installed. This has been reviewed by the city attorney's office, and council's approval is recommended.
Thank you. Any questions for Michael on this item?
I have one comment, just that, I really appreciate the gas department, whether, they're going out to seek these or they're coming to them through the planning, but just finding these customers that, and then I think that also that gas is a asset to a home and definitely raises the level of product that we have in our community. Maybe these may not be in the city, they're in the county, but still I think it does well for our community, and I appreciate that.
I agree. Any other questions or discussion? If not, a motion's in order.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
I vote as well. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Mr. Porta, you've got the EAP plan for first responders, I believe.
Yes, sir, Mayor. This is another contract. We had a 3-year agreement that expired when I requested renewal of this. This helps our firefighters and police officers and their families in case they get caught up there at a traumatic scene. Cost of $5,832 annually. Recommended for your approval.
Thank you. Chair will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve. Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
I'll vote aye as well. Motion carries unanimously. Next item, Mr. Foy, you've got a handful of those tonight. Grassdale Road Improvement Project.
Yes, sir, Mayor, Council. What I got before you now is a construction agreement for the Grassdale Road Improvement Project. We have been working under a TAP grant so far to get through the planning stages of this project, and now we wish to get a construction agreement in place so we can take advantage of the same TAP agreement to get this project actually constructed. The grant amount would be for 80% of the construction cost, or basically $2.805399 $2,805,000, $2,805,000, excuse me, for this project. Like I said, it's 80-20. The 20% local match will be split between the city of Cartersville and Bartow County. And this would cover things such as, you know, direct construction cost, inspections, and project oversight by GDOT, which is part of the construction agreement. GDOT would want $10,000 for construction oversight, and then there would be a 20% of that would be $2,000 to be split between Bartow County and City of Cartersville. Public Works recommends approval of this construction agreement. Keep this project moving forward on through construction.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Stephen on this one? If there's none, a motion's in order.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
I vote in the affirmative as well, and motion carries unanimously. Next item, please.
Yes, sir. The next item is quiet zone maintenance agreements. We have before us maintenance agreements for each of the 5 crossings, railroad crossings, to be part of the what we call the quiet zone for downtown Cartersville, including Carter Street, Cherokee Avenue, Main Street, Leek Street, and West Avenue. Like I said, there will be an annual cost associated with maintaining these crossings. Initially, for all 5 crossings, that amount would be $26,768, and that will be charged after the quiet zone is in place for 1 year, and then we would get another bill the next year, so on and so forth. Maintenance costs will be charged by CSX annually, and increase year to year according to the Consumer Price Index, as well as periodic adjustments that CSX can make. But anyways, CSX states in the agreement they'll provide notice of any increases to give us, I guess, forewarning so we can budget for it. And in the future, I would see this as just being something that would be budgeted from year to year, since it would be a regular annual cost. But Public Works recommends approval of this agreement for maintenance of the proposed quiet zone to keep this project moving forward.
I appreciate the work you did. I know the original proposal, you and Keith, and I'm guessing Dan and Wade, put some time into getting them to sharpen their pencil and getting that to be a little more equitable for the city. So I appreciate the hard work on that. And if this gets us another step closer to the long-awaited quiet zone, then, well, that's a good thing. So,
And I'll just tell you, Steven's been continually calling them every few weeks to keep pressure on them to keep moving forward. This is one of those hiccups that we've been waiting on them to get the contract back. See if it works.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
thank you. Any other discussion? If there's none, a motion's in order.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
And I'll vote in the affirmative, and the motion carries unanimously. Next item, please.
Okay, next one is architectural and engineering services for a Public Works remodel. The Public Works office building at 330 South Irwin. It's in need of a remodel to bring the current structure and interior from its build date of 1983 to more modern appearance and functionality for staff. And Public Works desires a minor redesign, would like to maintain operations while this building gets a facelift that concentrates on cosmetic appearances and better utilization functioning of the existing office space. We anticipate minimal structural changes to the building and be concentrating on interior work and finishes. Public Works has contacted Seven Hills Architecture and Consulting, which has provided proposal, performed services to Public Works in the schematic design phase and construction documents that we can utilize for the remodel work. We look forward to moving forward with this design and recommend approval of this agreement with Seven Hills for a fee of $18,500. This is a budgeted item.
Thank you, sir. Any questions or discussion on this item?
Is this comparable to the electric department, or a little bit less invasive?
I mean, less than that. It won't be, because electric department, they have a basement. This one doesn't have a basement in the building. It's all one story.
Yeah, we don't have an elevator.
Well, they don't have an elevator either. But no, it'll be less, won't be $2 million opposed to it. It'll be less than that. But again, as it states, Steve says it's built in 1883.
1983.
1983.
Well, and this will be that'll be, I mean, every other building, when you think about it, the gas has been upgraded, recreation, electric's going through their stuff, and so, water now, and,
Yeah.
so you're just saying me too, is what you're saying?
Basically.
By that picture, it's pretty overdue, isn't it? So, okay. Any other questions or discussion? If there's none, a motion's in order.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
And I'll vote in the affirmative, and the motion carries unanimously. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Forsythe, you've got the next handful.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council. The first item is the high-pressure system construction management services. Prime Engineering has designed and developed that project for us. This is a proposal for construction management services for that project. They've proposed $123,906.18. That is a budgeted item. We recommend it for your approval.
Thank you. Questions from council? Chair will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve. Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously along with my affirmative vote.
All right, next item, sir, is the sanitary sewer find and fix project engineering. This is the next phase of sewer upgrades resulting from our inflow and infiltration, or I&I study that we did a number of years ago. This project will evaluate approximately 20,000 linear feet of sewer lines and determining the repair projects needed to develop and design for this system to eliminate as much inflow and infiltration into our wastewater plant as possible. Prime Engineering has proposed a cost of $431,107.70 for these services. And this is all the way through construction management of any projects that are developed as a result of this. This is a budgeted expense. I recommend it for your approval.
Thank you. Questions for Sydney on this item? It is a big one. Chair will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
And I'll vote in the affirmative as well. The motion carries unanimously. This
Yes, sir,
is a big one.
Yes, sir. My final item, hopefully tonight, is the Water Pollution Control Plant Construction Manager at Risk Agreement. This is the first phase of agreeing with our construction manager at risk. We've selected Archer Western Construction to provide these services. This is simply for phase one, which is pre-construction consulting and constructability management for a flat fee of $1,585,000. This is the beginning, as Dan mentioned earlier, of what we anticipate to be a $200 million expansion and upgrade of this plant from its current capacity of 15 million gallons per day to 25 million gallons per day. And on the screen you can see what we anticipate to be the construction schedule. It'll be about a 4-year project almost. Hopefully we can speed those up. Those are conservative, but wouldn't be surprised if we couldn't. This agreement has been reviewed by the city attorney, and I recommend it for your approval.
Thank you.
And Sydney, this is basically for work package number one.
Essentially pre-construction, yes, sir. Phase one, or work. It's actually the pre-construction, not necessarily work package
Right.
one.
The pre-construction is for work package one, correct? Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. We are.
You read it. You good with it?
Yeah.
Okay. Any questions for Sydney on this item? Again, I know this has taken an awful lot of time, effort, planning from a number of people, but especially you. And again, you and Dan, I know, have put a lot of look at the financing piece of this, and but you know, it's a sign of, first of all, some unfunded mandates, and also the need for expanded capacity, so we can make sure that when people turn the faucets, that they got water coming out of them, so appreciate the hard work on that.
Yeah, this is not because we want nice things, it's in response to demand, so.
That's right. You got any comments on that?
No, it's just a lot of hard work in Sydney and Mike and everybody else on this team.
If there's no other discussion, Chair will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
And I'll vote in the affirmative. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, sir. While Mr. McKee's making his way up, I will entertain a motion to add 2 items to the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
And I say yes as well, so we'll add 2 items. So Tom, you'll do this one, and then you can go ahead and do the added items, and
Yes, sir.
we'll go from there.
Yes, so Mr. Mayor and Council, bring to you a request to officially update our MEAG Power Election Committee delegates by resolution. We recommend that we retain the mayor as our voting delegate and change our alternate voting delegate to myself as the current electric director.
Any questions on this? And if not, a motion's in order.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
And I say yes reluctantly as well. And the motion carries unanimously. And now that item that has been added to the agenda, please, Tom.
Yes, so Mr. Mayor and Council, we're bringing before you a recommended amendment to our distributed generation rider. We would like to bring this to you for this first reading and ask that you please let us know if you have any questions while reviewing it prior to the second reading.
And this, again, talk a little bit about what, just kind of cleaning up from when we just did the ordinance last meeting?
Yeah, so this basically brings into line distributed generation rider that currently we do not have any customers on. This will not affect any current customers. This would only be future customers that are interested in installing solar, and bring that rate structure in line with all of our non-distributed generation rates and tariffs.
Okay. And again, this is the first reading of an ordinance, so we won't have to vote on it tonight. And so if everybody's in a good place, doesn't need any questions asked about that? Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
We'll move on to Mr. Greer. And we have 4 different software renewals, and I will ask you to present all 4 of those, and then the Chair will entertain a motion to hopefully approve all 4 of those.
All right. Good evening, Mayor and Council. This first one is a renewal of Microsoft Office 365. This is total of $14,064 from Converge Technology Solutions. It's a budgeted item. Second is also Office 365 renewal. This one is from CDWG for $88,037.95 and is also a budgeted item. Next is a Laserfish renewal. This is the software that we use for document management, document retention. This is from MCCI for $9,886 budgeted. And finally, we have a Mimecast renewal. This is what we use for our email security solution. And this is from SHI for $38,878.04 and also budgeted and recommended for your approval.
Thank you. And any questions on these renewals? Chair will entertain a motion to approve all 4 of those items.
Make a motion to approve all 4.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
And I'll vote for that as well. They carry unanimously. Thank you. Mr. Porta, you are up.
Yes, Mayor. The first item is a painting and drywall repair for the city manager's building. Cost of $10,800 from Scott Edwards Painting. Recommend that for your approval.
Questions, comments, or motions?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
I say aye as well. Motion carries unanimously. Next item.
Annual membership in Northwest Georgia Regional Commission at this year, based on population, is 24,937. Recommended for your approval.
Thank you. Questions, comments, or motions?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
And I'll vote in the affirmative. Motion carries unanimously. And that added item, please.
Yes, this is for demolition and asbestos removal on 2 different buildings. One is 148 Walnut Grove Road property, which is the old water admin office. It costs $58,900. There is asbestos in there, and then they're going to demolish the building and the driveway and everything else. That would be just a grassy area outside the water control plant. And same company is going to do some work on Aubrey Street to remove old natural gas tank that we used decades ago. It's been sitting up there, as well as some floor tile on the building at a cost of $18,000. I recommended this company do those work.
Okay. Questions, comments, or motions?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
And I'll vote for it as well. And the motion carries unanimously. Saving the best for last Come on up, Mr. Reinhardt, with our financial report.
Honorable Mayor and Council, we'll be looking at May 2024 and comparing to May 2023. In the general fund, revenues increased over last May by $20.1 million. Expenses increased by $7.2 million. Local option sales tax has an increase there of about $761,000. Excuse me. And building permits and inspection fees, an increase there of about $67,000. The water and sewer fund, revenues increased over last May by $1.3 million. Expenses increased by $13.5 million. This is due to increased personnel expenses, increased operating expenses, increased debt service expenses, increased capital expenses, and increased transfers to the general fund. In the gas fund, revenues decreased from last year by $10.9 million. Expenses also decreased by $10.1 million. This is due to increased personnel expenses, increased operating expenses, decreased cost of purchased gas, decreased capital expenses, decreased debt service expenses, and increases in the transfers to the general fund. In the electric fund, revenues increased over last year by $4.2 million. Expenses increased by $3.3 million. This is due to decreased personnel expenses, increased capital expenses, increased cost of purchasing electricity, increased capital expenses, and increased transfers to the general fund. In the stormwater fund, revenues increased over last May by $168,000. Expenses decreased by $51,000. This is due to decreased personnel expenses, increased operating expenses, and increased capital expenses. Excuse me. In the solid waste fund, revenues increased over last year by $320,000, while the expenses increased by $141,000. This is due to decreased personnel expenses, increased operation expenses, and increased capital expenses. And finally, in the fiber optics fund, revenues decreased over last year by $923,000. Expenses increased by $74,000. This is due to the increased personnel expenses, increased operating expenses, decreased debt service expenses, decreased capital expenses, and increased transfers to the general fund. In our cash position for the month of May 2024, unrestricted funds decreased while restricted funds increased. SPOS balances are SPOS 2024 $231,991.10, and SPOS 2020 balance is $12,464,168.84.
Mr. Mayor, and basically, as Tom pointed out, we're doing very well. 11 months into the fiscal year. A couple things I point out in my memo is obviously the general fund. We started building the new fire station, so we've seen some costs there, which some of that money is coming from land sales. Also, I thank the couple new fire trucks that you guys saw on the recent meetings. But thanks to Tom and his staff for everything they've done to keep us on track.
Very good. Any questions for Tom or Dan relative to the financial report? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Is there any other business that needs to come before council tonight?
Good afternoon, city council members, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jason, and I live at 18 Burke Hickory Connector, Southwest in Cartersville, Georgia. I have a concern with a flock camera system. The American Civic Liabilities Union has concern that the flock camera system will be used to track people and also used for devious purposes. My concern as a human being, not just citizen of USA/corporation, but when I watch a lot of videos of police brutality from state to state, and they use technology to hurt people, to lock people in jail. My question to the city council members, will this flock system be used for devious purposes? As I read this article,
the answer to that is no.
Now, the flock system does read people's license plate, correct?
That's the purpose of it.
Now, did the car owner give permission for the city to violate their human rights by not giving them permission. And what I mean by that is, since I have a contract with the state because I have a license, it's a choice I make to get it. People don't have choices to get their privacy violated. The Constitution says we should have protection on warranted and seizures, and just this privacy issue, that my license plate is my own personal business. It's not a camera's business to take my license plate, put it in databases, and it's connected to the police department. What if that camera mistakes someone that's not doing criminal action, and they run that plate, make a mistake, and an innocent person goes to jail? I see technology every day where innocent people, human beings, not just citizens of this country, corporation, but they go to jail every day. And the police department uses technology. And you could say right now, sir, that it's not going to be used to hurt people, to get in people's businesses. A long time ago in 2013, Edward Snowden revealed how much we're being spied on. What if this flock technology is will be in the future to spy on people and to put innocent people in jail? The ACU had a growing concern about this flock system being abused, and it will be. You can say it won't be, but every technology in powerful people's hands, they abuse it, especially the police department. And I'm afraid that when you invest in technology instead of the old way, it's going to be abuse. Innocent people. It breaks my heart to see video after video of innocent people in jail for not committing a crime, but they use technology to do it with. So I hope the people understand that their license plate being scanned without their permission. And where's that data going to? Is that data going in the police department, or is it being erased or deleted once they take that picture? Who owns the data? All that information? And that's the problem I have with it. Who owns that information? It's dangerous to put in the powerful people's hands because they do evil things. Thank you for your time, City Council members.
Couple of items of note before we get out the door tonight. Former Councilman Tonsmeyer celebrates a birthday today. Wanted to make note of that. His contributions still having a positive impact on our community to this day, and will continue to do that as Lewis continues to do good as well. Also want to thank Tom McKee and his electric department. As I'd kind of shared with him before the meeting, I came home, had a power outage like a number of people yesterday, and used the My Cartersville app, little commercial plug for that. Reported the outage and was told there was a tree down on Plymouth, a tree down on Pine, and a utility pole on fire on Center Road. So while those storms were ripping through there, we had our entire department, and I know other departments as well, but had your guys out there hanging from poles in some difficult conditions to get everybody hooked back up. So just want to recognize their efforts and feel thank them for us. Thank you. Any other business come before council tonight? Seeing none, Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Go Dogs.
Tom and Stephen, I got stuff for you.